Now at 5 a.m. on WKYT this morning, we're tracking a national case with Kentucky ties this morning. A Florida man has pled guilty in a wide-reaching sexploitation case with victims here in Kentucky. But there could be hundreds more victims across the country.
As we're preparing for more storms and possible flooding, many here in Lexington still cleaning up from yesterday's very strong storms.
And we're looking for that flash flood threat in effect all the way through the evening hours. But actually, that rain continues for tomorrow, too. We've got the flooding risk to talk about, and I'll have all that, your latest details, coming up.
Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT This Morning.
Good morning from WKYT News. Welcome in on your Wednesday hump day. We're glad you're with us, starting off your new day. I'm Bill Bryant.
And I'm Rebecca Smith. Last night, one of those nights where you're wondering, oh, is the electricity going to be on at 3 in the morning?
You're right about that, because we had those sudden storms that were popping up here and there, isolated. Let's check in with Micah, because that trend could continue again today. And it's a WKYT First Alert Severe Weather Day.
Yeah, and we're just going to continue to see this rain funnel on in here. It's already a soaked ground outside. We're just adding to that. Showers, thunderstorms, not only today, but for tomorrow, too. So it's just not going to stop anytime soon. However, I don't expect tremendous amounts of rain. We're not looking like we did just a week or two ago. We're looking at 1 to 2 inches of rain for most, which will still add to that flooding concern. As you see back toward the west, here comes round after round after round. There's a front right over us, and it's just not moving much. And as long as it's there, we'll have that unsettled pattern. I'll show you how long that will last and when this front actually moves on through. Coming up in just about 10 minutes.
Okay, we thank you. And you this morning, we are tracking developing news right now, a national story with ties right here in Kentucky. The FBI is asking for help across the nation in identifying victims in a sexploitation case.
More than 100 teenage victims have been identified, including one in northern Kentucky, another in western Kentucky. The FBI fears there could be hundreds more linked to one specific man. WKYT's Mark Barber is at our live desk with more on this investigation. Good morning.
Becca, it really is a disturbing case. The FBI says the online predator posed as a 15-year-old boy to get teenage girls to send him sexual pictures. The man behind screen names like Justin Bieber and Good-Looking Guy was not 15. Investigators say he was actually 31-year-old Lucas Chancellor. The FBI says he terrorized nearly 350 teenage girls before he was arrested and sentenced to 105 years in prison. However, many of his victims have not been identified yet. That's why the FBI is trying to find more victims now. According to the FBI, Chancellor gained the trust of victims in 26 states. One of them was in northern Kentucky and another in western Kentucky, and they fear there could be even more. Investigators tell us that when Chancellor was video chatting with girls, he convinced them to expose themselves. That's when investigators say he would take a picture of the computer screen and then would use that picture to blackmail the girls. It's called sextortion, and Chancellor was convicted of targeting girls as young as 13 and 14. According to the FBI, one of those victims, Ashley Reynolds, helped them convict the Florida man on multiple counts of child pornography production.
He was not going to stop, and he was set on sharing my picture with whoever he could to ruin my reputation.
Reynolds says she is now sharing her story because she knows pictures of other women may still be out there. The FBI is hoping that her story will help them find other victims. The FBI says as younger and younger children are getting online, it is becoming even more important to learn how not to become the victim of sextortion. Coming up at 5:30, we'll have some tips on how you can protect yourself from becoming a victim. From the live desk, Mark Barber, WKYT.
Mark, thank you very much. Now, more rain might be headed our way today. Many folks are still cleaning up from yesterday's storms. Strong winds brought down trees all over Lexington. I'm going to take a look now at some video. People in the Masterson Station neighborhood say it left the area very messy. A lot of trees fell across streets and driveways there. Lots of people stayed busy last night just trying to clean up. Stoplights were knocked out as well during the storm. One woman says watching the storm roll through her neighborhood was terrifying.
The scary part was that I saw the gutter come off the front of the house, and that's never happened anything that serious before on this street. So it was startling, and then when we came out and saw trees down, we knew something pretty strong had gone through.
Yeah.
Kentucky Utilities reports around 300 customers on the north side of Lexington lost power around 6 o'clock last night.
The National Weather Service will be in Fleming County later today to survey last night's storm damage. The Fleming County Emergency Manager says a shed was destroyed, trees knocked down along Highway 11 near Flemingsburg last night. He also says a roof of a barn was blown off on Convict Pike, which you see in this photo here. No injuries were reported.
Emergency managers around the Bluegrass are keeping a close eye on creeks and streams in Franklin County. Crews are preparing for possible flash flooding again. And the emergency management director there says it has been an exhausting stretch of weather lately.
The February snow event to the cold in February, which was a pretty good cold snap. I think our coldest date was like -22. To the March snow event, to the April flooding event, it has been one eventful month after another.
Well, dramatic new video shows a fighter pilot being rescued after a mid-air collision in South Carolina. This morning, crews are still searching for the pilot and passenger of a small civilian plane who were killed in the crash. Brian Webb reports from New York.
New video shows a chopper lowering a U.S. Coast Guard swimmer into the marshy crash site to rescue a fighter pilot. The pilot survived a mid-air collision with a small Cessna airplane in South Carolina by ejecting from his F-16.
The decision to eject is a quick one, especially in a single-seat fighter like an F-16.
The National Transportation Safety Board is investigating the crash and says 2 people on board the Cessna were killed and the small plane destroyed. The collision happened Tuesday about 30 miles north of Charleston. Debris rained down from the sky and smoke could be seen for miles. One piece of the wreckage was found leaning against a mobile home.
As soon as I saw it, there was an explosion, a lot of black smoke, debris falling.
The Air Force says Major Aaron Johnson is a highly experienced pilot. He was on a solo training mission from Shaw Air Force Base to Charleston. The popular Cessna 150 is a small 2-seat plane that weighs about 1,500 pounds. The F-16 is 50 feet long and can weigh nearly 10 tons. Brian Webb for CBS News.
Officials say the pilot and passenger on board the Cessna were from the Charleston area, probably headed to Myrtle Beach. Their identities haven't been released. We are tracking the investigation into a crash that killed a Central Kentucky mother. The crash happened yesterday morning on Long Lake Pike in Scott County. Investigators say 46-year-old Michelle Rojas lost control of her truck, ran off the road and hit a plank fence and tree. The coroner says she died at the scene. Her 2 children were in the truck with her, but investigators say they were in car seats and not injured. Investigators think alcohol and speed were both factors in the crash.
Lexington Mayor Jim Gray is wanting a city board to take a closer look at some statues in downtown Lexington. The mayor's office says he has asked the Urban County Arts Review Board to review the placement and presentation of the John Hunt Morgan and John C. Breckenridge statues in Cheapside Park. Both men were Confederate officers. The mayor also wants the board to review a nearby historical marker that details the history of slavery in Lexington. He asked the board to talk with civil rights leaders as well as historians and others in the community. The Morgan statue was vandalized last month.
Some snakes became traffic cops recently in Anderson County. Police were dealing with a crash at Kentucky 44 and the US 127 bypass when they noticed the traffic lights flickering on and off. When they checked the box, they found several large rat snakes inside. According to downtown Lawrenceburg, Kentucky.com, officers used sticks to get those snakes out. But the snakes came back a couple days later, so the officers used pepper spray to encourage them not to come back.
Okay, I guess the snakes were directing traffic there.
Instead of bugs in the light, it was snakes.
Yeah, that happens. They get in transmitters sometimes as well. It's warm, you know. All right, the time this morning is 5:09 on WKYT This Morning. We're just getting started on your Wednesday, and it's great to have you along with us.
Netflix is coming out with a whole new set of original movies for its Film Initiative project. We'll tell you when you can expect to see them coming up in 5 minutes.
And we're looking across the way. Here comes some more rain. It is not stopping back toward the west. Just continues to funnel on in. I'll show you when it actually stops coming up in a few minutes.